Pregnant pause. If you want to get people's attention, pause. That's what my cat says. He spells it differently. Anyway, I caught a kitty this morning. He was on the warpath earlier, batting a screw around the living room, and he was right on the edge of eating it, which probably would have been a $700 vet bill. So we had to kind of had to fix that. So he's gone from 60 miles an hour to zero in no time flat, and I can see his tail wagging. Anyway, what's the message today, Mr. Spiritual Guy? I ran out. Sorry. Just kidding. By the way, I do post these on YouTube, and I don't think I've ever asked this, but if you ever watch one of these, could you please hit like? My motto is like it, whether you like it or not, and subscribe, whether you want to or not, because it's really mostly about me. And if you like it and subscribe to me, then I'll go viral around the world, and then I'll finally be able to get a jet plane. So we better get to the spiritual stuff pretty soon. So anyway, Sting had a wonderful song in 79, 80, and it was called We Are Spirits in the Material World, and I always resonated with that song. There's a spiritual saying, we might have heard it, that says we're spiritual beings having a material existence or a physical existence. And what are some of the implications of that, given the topic of this week of bearing the true witness? I think it's highly significant, because if we're spiritual beings having a material experience, then we could also be spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. In other words, what are we doing here? If there are spiritual beings having a material experience somewhere in other realms, there are spiritual beings enjoying spiritual experience. We might imagine the glory and the wonder and the profound awesomeness of that, but we're spiritual beings on a material plane. Thus, we have these bodies. We're compressed into time. We have a past, a present, and a future. We have the worldly concerns of our body. We have the competition with other creatures, and it's what are we doing here? And yesterday I described a flow chart that described the possibilities of consciousness, and one is the ongoingness of consciousness. We're spiritual beings, and because of that, our experience is ongoing. It never ends. Now, the other side of that flow chart was this side that says we're material beings having a material experience. Think of that for a moment. We're material beings having a material experience. Now, not only do I think that that's not true, I also think that it would have made a crappy song and would not have been a hit, which is why Sting didn't write that one. So we are material beings having a material experience. Now, that's a compelling worldview, though, and I'm strongly of the opinion that that's the underlying theme that most human beings feel, is that we're material beings having a material experience. Could you elaborate, please, Greg? What does that mean? Well, we're largely at the effect of the material world. We feel very small, very powerless, very thrown around by the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. And there's not really a lot of influence that we have over it. And there's also the impending extinguishing of our own personal consciousness. This is what it means to be a material being having a material experience. Now, if you're watching this, and if you've watched it this far and you haven't liked it yet, you probably should ring the bell. Anyway, we should remember that it's so easy to forget who we are. And what yogis do, the number one problem in yoga is forgetting who we are, and the number one solution is remembering. It is a profound remembering to remember that we're spiritual beings having a material experience. It flips the whole world upside down. It makes the world an entirely different place. It brings context, meaning, purpose, understanding, education, uplift to every experience that we're having. They're not random coincidences. Nothing is being done to us. We're not in a prison of external things. We're spiritual beings having a material experience. And why are we doing that? In order to grow and to expand here and to bear the true witness, not the false one. So if we are bearing witness to something other than the highest that's possible, we're not living up to our true nature. We're being material beings having a material experience. This point of view is so compelling in the world. I was watching a little article on Arnold Schwarzenegger in a podcast with Danny DeVito, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, whether you love him or hate him, he's easy to do both probably. He he was a devout Catholic up until approximately 3 years ago, and now he's totally changed his tune. It's like when you're dead, you're dead, you're 6 feet under, and you take what Robin Williams calls the long dirt nap. Life is over, existence is done for you, and all the fun of riding bikes and traveling around the world and lifting weights and being politicians and making lots of money and all the fun and joy of life. Lights out, kids. It's all over. So that's a compelling worldview for some, but those of us who think otherwise, believe otherwise, and intuitively know otherwise, we know that we're spiritual beings having a material experience. That soul remembrance and that soul remembrance is what begins to turn the tide of our existence, and we begin to bear the true witness as spiritual beings. There's no limitation or constraint on what we can do or express or create or the joy that we can bring to the world. So this is an important message. And my job, I put my little cap on every morning. My job is to remind people who they are. And that's why I'm here, to remind you who you are. And forgetting hurts and remembering heals. And have a beautiful day. Remember who you are and enjoy your spirit self in this material world. Pregnant pause.